Hello everyone, this is Aaron Fish from ATF Gaming and welcome back to the ATF NASCAR Weekly Review. I apologize for not doing these like the last 2 months, but honestly, can you blame me? Nothing's happened in NASCAR in the last 2 months, honestly. There's been the Truex Harvick Busch show, Boyer won a couple races, and AJ Allmendinger screwed up at Sonoma, and that's really all the interesting thing that's happened, honestly. But I decided to do one this weekend. We're just going to talk about the Cup Series only, because this was one of the best Cup Series races that I have witnessed in a long time. For sure, the best race this year, no doubt. I can't wait to see what Jeff Gluck's was this a good race Twitter poll looked like, because I highly think this will be one of the best races in the history of that. But Chicagoland has definitely turned into an interesting racetrack. I fully supported removing it from the chase, but after this race, I'm kind of iffy on it because it really has developed into a two-groove racetrack, as demonstrated today, even a three-groove racetrack, and it was definitely interesting. This race was good throughout the race, not just the end. The end was obviously amazing, but the entire race was really good. There was lots of passing, there was stupid stuff that happened, and there weren't a lot of crashes that made it interesting. It was just passing and strategy, and really NBC's coverage made it quite good as well. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I don't anticipate going back to a weekly review series, but I just had to do it for this race and next week's Daytona, so there's a good chance that I'll do it again next week. So we'll see what happens there. But first of all, let's start talking about NBC's coverage, which I thought was excellent. I was a little worried watching the Xfinity coverage yesterday because they were missing a lot of passes up front on the coverage. But today was a lot better. They still missed a couple things, but we're getting used to the new crew, which includes Dale Earnhardt Jr. this year. If you haven't seen the millions of commercials about it. And if you haven't, then you've been living under a rock. No offense, but really seemed like it. But they did a really good job. I was a little concerned about the structure of the booth because they're having 4 broadcasters and 2 separate booths. They did this last year for like one race. I can't remember what it was, but they had Rick Allen and Jeff Burton in one booth, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Steve Woutart in another booth, which was really cool because those two used to be driver crew chief. So they have a really good chemistry together, and putting those two in that booth together really created some interesting moments, some more enjoyable, laughable moments as well. But anyway, the race itself, Paul Menard was on the pole. I know nobody remembers that because he literally fell like a rock. He was out of the top 10 within lap 10, and I think he finished like 18th or something. Let me see. Well, he finished 13th, but yeah, he wasn't much of a factor. But stage 1, the biggest thing was Clint Bowyer was leading coming on to the pit stops. It was a big Stewart-Haas domination station in the first part of the race with Bowyer, Kurt Busch, Almirola, and later on Harvick. But Bowyer, he had a speeding penalty coming down for green flag pit stops in stage 1. So he came to serve that, had another speeding penalty. And when you have 2 speeding penalties, you have to do a stop in the box pass through penalty. That's what I'm trying to say. But he didn't do that. Obviously, that's not good. So he had to come in again. So he had 3 penalties and 1 pit stop. Now, I know I'm bad with pit road speed. I tweeted about it on Twitter towards John because he's witnessed this. I'm bad with pit road speeding, but I've never had 3 penalties in a race, let alone just 1 pit stop cycle. So that was interesting. That really took him out of contention early on. And he said it at the end of the race that he probably could have won stage 1 for sure, maybe even contended more later on. But because he had that issue, he fell 2 laps down, and Eric Almirola ended up winning the stage over Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, and Kevin Harvick. So the other 3 Stewart-Haas drivers in the top 5. Bowyer obviously would have made a 4th. So good first stage. That was really the only notable thing that happened in stage 1. Stage 2, on the other hand, had a bit of strategy involved. around the caution. There was a caution. It was a debris caution, and it just shook up the field a little bit. Almirola had an issue there. Can't quite remember what it was. I didn't take notes on this because I wasn't expecting to do this. But anyway, Harvick won, Kurt Busch second, Kyle Larson third, Truex fourth, and Blaney fifth. So stage 3 was also going to be split into two, one-stop strategy, and the caution came out right around where they were going to have to pit, so that really kind of took out the strategy there. There was also a chance of rain, which all the experts on Twitter were saying wasn't really much of a chance, but they hyped it up a little bit. The spotters and the NBC crew hyped it up a little bit. But when that caution came out, I believe Keselowski and Almirola stayed out. Oh, I remember what happened to Almirola. He had a loose wheel while leading. I remember now. In stage 2, he had a loose wheel, and he had to come in while leading, which is a tough thing to do. It's really a tough thing to do. He also had another one later on, too, which caused him to be one set short on tires for the race, so he had to stay out on that caution. And Keselowski stayed out as well, and that helped him gain a bunch of track position. Almirola fell like a rock, but Keselowski ended up staying up there for a little while, so I don't know what happened to Almirola's car. There obviously was an issue there. But let's get to the end of the race now. Harvick had pulled away a bit before the last caution of the race, which came out with Denny Hamlin spinning, I believe. By himself, no issues there. Harvick was pulling away to about a 3-second lead over, was it Larson at the time? It might have been Larson, might have been Truex, I can't remember. Might have been Kyle Busch, too. But there was a caution. Most everybody pitted, and that set up a really good finish. Kyle Busch, his pit crew got him a spot on pit road, moved ahead of Harvick, and he took the lead on the restart and started pulling away a little bit. Harvick stayed in second for a while. Kyle Larson had an issue on the pit stop. He fell a couple spots back. I'm not quite sure what happened there. But Harvick was in second, but Busch was running away from him. Harvick really didn't have enough speed for him. So with about 30 laps to go, 20 laps to go around there, it looked like Busch was going to run away. But out of nowhere, Kyle Larson just starts running really solid pace. He was 3 seconds behind with about 20 laps to go, and he caught all the way up to Kyle Busch. And by this time, we had about 40 lap run, so lap traffic was starting to become an issue, and the back half of the lead lap was starting to become an issue for lap traffic. Notably, Kurt Busch, who struggled in the last half of the race, Ricky Stenhouse, and Ryan Newman was the biggest thorn in Kyle Busch's side, which, if any of you have watched my NASCAR Let's Plays, is true to life and true to gaming, because Ryan Newman is the hardest person to pass in the world. I've had numerous run-ins with Ryan Newman in my gaming experience, so that was very accurate, and it kind of made me feel happy inside that I'm not the only one that has these issues. But that became a real issue with about 8 laps to go, I think it was. Larson was within a half a second, but he kind of stayed still. That gap had stayed there. He was running the high lane right up against the wall, and Busch was running the low lane, high lane combination, trying to get around lap traffic. And Larson was really catching him on the high lane, but then, I don't know why, it wasn't really because of lap traffic. Larson started using the low lane every now and then, and that really hurt him. So I don't know what happened there, but with about 8 laps to go, Larson hit the wall. So we all thought it was done. Kyle Busch extended lead to about 1.5 seconds. We all thought it was done, and that didn't turn out to be the case. Larson caught back up, mainly because there was a 3-wide battle in lap traffic. It was Ricky Stenhouse and Kurt Busch, and then there was another even slower lap down car, kind of like the Landon Castles and the Reed Sorensens of the pack. I don't remember who exactly it was, but that was a 3-wide battle. It slowed Kyle Busch up. Stenhouse actually got into Kyle Busch, slowed Busch down, and then here comes Ryan Newman, who had already been passed by Kyle Busch It took him a couple laps, though. It took Busch a couple laps to pass Newman. But here comes Newman, diving it down to the inside. It's a four-wide battle in lap traffic with Kyle Busch right in the middle of it. And here comes Larson, gaining almost a second just in that corner. And he's right there now. And Larson ran the high lane. This was about two laps to go now. Larson ran the high lane, caught right up to Kyle Busch. White flag came out. Larson dove in to do the slide job, dirt track slide job. Didn't quite complete it. Got into the left rear of Kyle Busch. Might have cut a tire down, but Busch was still going fast. So they were side by side. Busch slowed down. Larson got ahead going into turn 3. Larson decided to take the low line, and this is where I didn't agree with what happened. I think if Larson had taken the outside lane, either way, I think there would have been an issue. But I think if Larson had taken the outside lane, he would have won this race. But he took the low lane. Kyle Busch took the low lane with him, ran right into the back of Larson's. Larson spun out, kind of half a spin out. He managed to save it, but he spun out long enough to where Kyle Busch passed him. But Kyle Busch, in that whole deal, he drove it in so deep trying to get to the bumper of Larson that he went straight for the wall. And then he really did have a blown tire after that. I don't know if that was a cause of the earlier contact or if it was a cause of the wall hit, but he definitely had a blown tire. He was slowing down. He still had the lap traffic. Newman ended up being right there with him again. But Larson had been skidding for about half a corner, and Larson was back. I was just wondering how far back Kevin Harvick was in third, but he was caught in a whole lap traffic deal, and he was just so slow. But so Kyle Busch ended up winning, and it was a really good finish. I've not seen a finish like that in the Cup Series in a while. There's been a lot of Truck Series finishes like that. There's been a lot of Xfinity Series finishes like that. I've not seen a good Cup Series finish like that for a couple years. I'm sure somebody can point out one that I'm not thinking of, but the most recent I can think of is the whole Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin situation. But it really hasn't been. And those were on short tracks. That wasn't on a mile and a half. And mile and a half racing has been terrible. Chicagoland has been a rough track in general. So rough that it got moved out of the chase, which has had a chase race ever since the start of the chase. So that's significant. But it was a really good race. I'm glad I was able to talk about it. I thought NBC did a great job. I thought Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson played it really cool. Now, obviously, if I was in Kyle Larson's position, I probably would have wrecked the crap out of Kyle Busch immediately. But Kyle Larson being a dirt track racer, he knows what it's like to have good racing. That was good racing right there. Larson got into him coming off of turn 2, not completing the slide job, and then Busch returned the favor coming into turn 3. It was even. It wasn't like the Hamlin Elliott situation where Hamlin just ran over Elliott without any reason besides winning the race. That was good racing. I was a little upset with the fact that the fans were booing Kyle Busch even after that good finish. I know Busch's reputation, but that was a good, clean-ish, and even finish. Let's put it that way. And it was excellent. I applaud Kyle Busch. Now, I'm not the biggest Kyle Busch fan in the world, but I couldn't even be mad about that. I'm sure a couple other YouTubers I won't name probably won't be too thrilled with that. But I will most certainly applaud Kyle Busch. I was hoping for a new winner in Larson. The fact that Larson was running up front might mean Chevy has turned the corner a little bit. Let me see what the leaderboard looked like for Chevys. Bowman was 10th, but Larson definitely turned the corner. I know Chase Elliott was up there earlier in the race. He kind of fell off the map. Jamie McMurray was making some good runs. Ryan Newman obviously became a story with the issues he caused Kyle Busch. But yeah, like I said, this won't become a weekly thing again, but I definitely anticipate having stuff to talk about at Daytona next week. So we will resume then. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content from ATF Gaming, be sure to hit that red subscribe button. It really means a lot to me, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.